What's up guys, it's Kayla
and Jim,
and welcome back to another Meteorology Monday. What are we talking about today?
Today we are going to talk about lake effect snow. There's been a lot of discussion about this recently, especially in the news. We've been experiencing these events, but what exactly is lake effect snow?
So every year, the Great Lakes region of the United States experiences these snow events called lake effect snow. As we've seen recently in the news, the western New York area, specifically Buffalo, has experienced 2 of these lake effect snow events. But what causes these lake effect snow events, and how are they different from your regular average run-of-the-mill snowstorm?
We'll answer those questions, but before we get started,
if you like this video, make sure you're giving it a thumbs up and subscribe down below so you don't miss the next one. While you're down there, check out the links to our social media and our school weather if you want to learn about the basics of meteorology or learn how severe weather impacts us. All those links will be in the description box. Now let's get into answering some of those questions.
during the late fall and winter season, very cold air spills down from Canada toward the Great Lakes region. As the cold air passes over the unfrozen, relatively warmer waters of the Great Lakes, the warmer, moist air rises into the lower atmosphere. As the air rises, it causes clouds to form and eventually precipitation falls in the form of snow due to the temperatures of the lower atmosphere averaging below freezing. The wind direction is a critical component which dictates how long of a fetch the air has over the open waters of the Great Lake. The longer the air is moving over open waters, the more moisture is available to be picked up and converted to snowfall. Where the air rises and picks up moisture, it forms quote-unquote bands of clouds and precipitation. Typically, these bands are narrow in scope, averaging less than a few miles wide. However, these bands, depending on how long they stay over the open waters, can produce up to 2 or 3 inches of snow per hour in some locations. That is why certain locations may experience a foot of snow and just a mile or 2 down the road, it is clear and possibly sunny if occurring during the daytime hours. If the temperature contrast between the lake and the lower atmosphere is great, it causes significant rising of air, similar to the dynamics experienced in thunderstorms. With adequate wind speeds and direction, stronger cells form within the band and could develop lightning and thunder. It is in these situations where people experience thundersnow. Not only does the significant rising of air produce the possibility of thundersnow, but the snowfall rates within that band or cell are much higher than anywhere else in the band. Snowfall rates of 5+ inches per hour have been experienced in thundersnow events. So during the late fall and winter time frame, meteorologists around the Great Lakes keep their eyes open for an outbreak of very cold weather, open Great Lakes waters, and the orientation of the wind flow to determine any areas of lake effect snow events. One other thing they consider is land topography. If the shoreline has a significant rise to it, the air coming off the lake will be forced to ascend upward and thus causing additional rising motion, cloud formation, and snowfall rates.
So that's how these lake effect systems form. Let's look at a radar loop of a recent example, which was the Buffalo storm that happened around Christmas time, wasn't it?
That's right. Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
late December.
So here is our radar loop of the Buffalo area. At first you'll see there's a whole lot of precipitation reflectivity there, and that is mostly associated with the storm that's moving through. As we continue the loop, you'll see a lot of that precipitation tends to wane, and then you'll see this line just start to set up and have this long fetch from Lake Erie into the Buffalo area. That is our lake effect snow band, and you see that it just is parked itself there, and very slowly it will start drifting a little further north, and then it starts to drift further south, and that's because of the orientation of the wind. As the main low pressure center moves away from the northeast, the wind flow tends to change its direction slightly, but with this event, it actually stayed in this orientation for a very, very long time and snowed up to, I think it was like 4 days of this solid line just coming right into the Buffalo area. Again, it shifted a little further north, then shifted a little further south, but overall, Buffalo really got nailed with a ton of snow. I believe it was record amount of snowfall for a lake effect snow. I think it was over 80 inches in a few locations around the greater Buffalo area. Next, we have an example from YouTube of a lake effect snow event, and we're going to go ahead and play it alongside while we're talking. And this is, you can see how everything looks before the event started. And as time rolls forward, you'll see in the time lapse how quickly snow falls and how quickly it accumulates. So it doesn't take long, especially when you have rates of 2 to 3 inches per hour on average, for snow to start piling up. And it's just an incredible event because, again, within a matter of miles, you could be in an area that's clear versus an area that's socked in with a lot of snow.
And in this next video, it is a time lapse of the snow coming in off of the lake. You can see the moisture rise up from the lake, it forms a cloud, it moves in over the shore, and then it starts dumping the snow. Obviously where the camera is, it's not snowing, but over to the side it is. So again, showing the difference of a couple miles in the direction of the winds as to whether or not you get feet of snow or just a dusting. And of course we can't talk about thunder snow without throwing in a certain person and a certain clip on YouTube. So
take it away, Jim Cantori.
Whoa! Was that lightning? Christina! Listen. We just had a thunder snow. We just had a lightning strike and thunder here in Worcester. It is snowing at over 4 inches an hour. We have 13 inches of snow on the ground. Oh! Listen to that! Oh my goodness! Holy smoke!
So there's some examples of thunder snow. Again, those locations were not because of lake effect snow, but we grabbed those videos just because they give the example of thunder snow. So that is what is experienced as well with these very heavy lake effect snow events that do produce thunder snow. So let's move on to our next question, and that is, what is the difference between a regular snow event and a lake effect snow event?
throwing it back to that radar loop that we saw in the beginning, before we got to the lake effect snow part, you saw a snow event going on, and that was caused by a low pressure system and some fronts moving through and all of the dynamics that normally happen with a precipitation event. That's the difference between a lake effect snow event and a regular snowstorm, is that the lake effect snow does not need that low pressure system there.
So to clarify, what we need is a moisture source. So with the low pressure system that Kayla was talking about with a regular snowstorm, the moisture source is there with the low pressure system. Now when that low pressure system moves away, the moisture source now becomes the Great Lakes. So therefore, when you have very cold air that moves over the Great Lakes, that instability that is caused because of that causes the moisture in the lake to actually rise up into the lower layer of the atmosphere. So therefore it's drawing up that moisture, and now you've got moisture from your moisture source and then the cold air on top of that. So again, it's not dependent upon a low pressure system, it's dependent upon really a big temperature contrast and then the wind direction that's orienting toward the shoreline.
Yeah, because warm air likes to rise and cold air likes to sink. So when you have really cold air going over that relatively warmer water, it does that little flipping thing that the atmosphere does, and it makes a cloud, and all of a sudden it's snowing.
That's right. And if you think about it in terms of a thunderstorm, and we've talked about thunderstorms many times and also in our School of Weather, but if you think about it as the warm surface and then the cooler air aloft and that overturning in the atmosphere that happens, that's basically what's happening in this event too. And when you get a strong enough contrast and a lot of instability, that's when you have the potential for thunder snow. A lot of those dynamics are very similar with lake effect snows, with thunderstorms, with just general precipitation. So basically the end result is a lot of heavy snow, just a little bit different dynamic going on to make it happen compared to a regular snow event.
And if you happen to live in the southeast, as we do, where we are dependent upon low pressure systems bringing in moisture and fronts to bring in the cold air and all that, and all these dynamics that have to come together to form a snow event, you probably wish that you lived by a lake.
Now, we do have a bunch of lakes down here in the south.
We do.
But why do they not cause lake effect snow in a very cold situation?
That is an excellent question. That would be because the lakes, such as Lake Norman here in the Charlotte area, is just simply not big enough. You look at the Great Lakes and they are huge, massive bodies of water that kind of look like oceans. And when you have the cold air going over all that, for however many miles the lake is, it has time to draw the moisture up, turn it into a cloud, turn it into precipitation. Whereas here around the Lake Norman area, the lake's just simply not big enough. There's not enough time for that cold air to turn into clouds and precipitation. So we're just stuck relying on the low pressure and the fronts.
One other thing I want to touch upon is that some of these bands can actually be about 10 miles wide or more. We did take an average, it's roughly a few miles, but some of the bands could be wider, some of them can be narrower. Again, it all depends on the instability, the dynamics, and the length of time over the open lake.
There you have lake effect snow and how it's different than a regular snowstorm.
That's right. And we want to hear your comments as well about, have you experienced lake effect snow or have any family members that experience it? I know growing up in the Northeast, I experienced lake effect snow. Again, I wasn't right along the lake, I was further east, but some of the very strong events could carry that lake effect snow down into the Albany area where I grew up.
And again, if you like what you saw, be sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe down below so you don't miss the next Meteorology Monday. As we talked about in the beginning, our social media, we post all of our weather adventures. We recently went on vacation to the mountains and we posted a bunch of pictures about the snow that we saw there. And there might be some unseen footage of dead snow tubing there and at the end of the video, so
oh no,
stick around. Also in the description box is that School of Weather link that'll take you over to our online courses where you can learn about the basics of meteorology and also severe weather topics such as what goes into making hurricanes, tornadoes, thunderstorm dynamics, and fun stuff like that. At the end of the video is going to pop up a couple of our own winter weather forecasting videos if you want to check that out. And until next time, I'm Kayla.
And I'm Jim.
Thanks for watching.
And we'll see you at the next Meteorology Monday. Take it away, Jim.
Oh, yes! 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 We got it, baby! We got it! We got it! Woo! Woo! We got it! Yes! Listen to that! Oh! Again! Again! That's a twofer! That's a twofer, baby! Yes! Yes! Again! That's a three! You gotta be kidding me!